Can I get a show of hands? People who wish to be the change that they want to see. Hands up. Wow. This could be something so special for our city. Just as you put your hands down, I want to ask you, can you locate that feeling in your body? I know it's an odd question, but maybe for you it's a physical thing. Maybe for you it might just be mental, but maybe you can just feel it. My next question, I actually asked that no one raised their hands. But do you have a shame that you wish no one to see? Can you locate that shame? Some of you may feel it in tightly clenched fists. Some of you may feel it as a tension across your shoulders. Maybe that shame that you wish no one to see is felt like a weight in your lungs. For me, the shame that I wish no one to see, my shame, I feel it in the pit of my gut. And with your permission, I'd like to talk about my shame that I want no one to see. But before I continue, I have a disclaimer to make. Eu sou primeiro geração brasileiro-australiano e por causa disso eu sou tão apaixonado. Eu sei como isso pode deixar o anglo-saxon, Aussie machos aqui no quarto sentindo tão estranho por causa do meu paixão, então podia deixar fora do gancho. Or in the other language that I spoke at home. I'm a first generation Brazilian Australian, and because of this I am so passionate. And I understand how my passion can make Aussie, macho, Anglo-Saxon men feel so awkward. So just by acknowledging it, I want to let you off the hook. My shame, the shame that I wish no one to see, it was growing up broken and poor in a community that had so much wealth and people who inherently had it together. You see, my shame looked like a beautiful, loving, committed father who suffered a tumultuous mental illness. A mental illness that led to him being ostracised in my community. And I just want to acknowledge the people here today who understand that pain of mental illness, who understand the pain of watching someone you love go through it. Because our culture, we have a culture of cover-up where we don't talk about mental illness, and as a result, we lead people into stigma and to people who suffer to being ostracised further. You see, my shame looked like a beautiful mother, that's her right there on the left, who worked 5 jobs. My mother worked 5 jobs just to make sure that I could go to a good school. And despite my mother's best efforts and all my hard work, I have a learning disability that just led me to fail. See, my shame looked like skating to school in the middle of the winter whilst the rain beat down on the pavement and big cars with warm leather seats would drive past and kids' noses would be pressed up against the window looking at me skate. And I'd get to school and for the first 2 periods I'd sit by the heater shivering, trying to get warm, trying to get dry. And kids had the audacity to come up to me and say, "Hey, I saw you skating to school today." And all I could think, all I could conjure was, why didn't you pull over? Why didn't you pick me up? Why didn't you give me a lift in? You see, my shame looks like sitting in a classroom and stinking. Because our washing machine at home had broken and we didn't have the money to fix it. So besides best efforts of going to the laundromat and attempts at hand washing our clothes, I'd sit in a classroom and stink and comments would be made. And one of the most shameful things in my life, and it wasn't ever intended to be a shameful thing, but is I had to sit through a meeting with a teacher who had to tell me about how he's been receiving complaints about my stench, and I couldn't do anything about it. And it wasn't until a friend of ours came to our house and he actually fixed our washing machine for free that something occurred to me. How liberating knowledge is. Education is so empowering. And this is the exact reason that I seek to work with people who need it. My mother now runs the largest street-based feeding program for homeless people. Mother Teresa would say, we cannot all do great things, but we can do small things with great love. It was my mother's tenacity and my mother's example of welcoming people into our home, of feeding people with the compassion and kindness in our home that led my mother to do great things. You see, my mum, she understood two things. She understood wanting to be the change that she wished to see, and she understood a deep shame that she wished no one to see, and she understands other people feel that shame. See, my shame looked like so much like my mother's, wrapped up in being treated like charity when all that we asked for was dignity. This is the very reason that I started the Homelove Project. You see, the Homelove Project, it can't be talked about without the threads of the stories and the people and the communities that led to it becoming what it is. You see, I am a product of other people. My friends from First Home Project, Teresa and Jared, they would talk about it as not a hand out, but a hand up. I can help, acknowledging someone's basic dignity. Like my mother's compassionate, dignifying acts, this community, they started small, taking in one asylum seeker who just needed a place to stay, and today they've had 17 refugees graduate through the community, 15 of whom are living there, and they support so many more. So this community as well, responding to a change that they wish to see in the world, and understanding a deep shame that they wish no one to see, which was the way that their government treated vulnerable people. Small things, great love. We once had this old, busted up Commodore, and this thing was so dependent upon in my family. See, it would get us from doctor's appointments to the hospital, from school to my mum's 5 jobs. And this thing had a habit, a really good habit I must admit, of just breaking down on us all the time. Anyone else have a car like that? Oh, just me? Okay. We would fork out so much money on this car, just trying to fix it, and it would break down a week later. We still, for some reason, would go on to fix it. And we're spending more money that we had because we were so careful about handling our own dignity, because we didn't want to depend on other people for lifts. We wanted to be able to uphold our dignity and be able to do things ourselves, to help ourselves. Anyway, one day this car, it breaks down by a petrol station, and this guy with this wicked beard and thick glasses and an iced coffee, he walks out and he goes, "Oi, Cobb, what's up with your car?" And I look at him, I've got no idea. And he goes, "Right, pop your hood." And so I do. And over the next hour, I watch on in awe and fascination as this guy proceeds to work without tools, with his hands, fixing our car. And it was in that moment that something clicked. If I had these skills, I'd be able to empower myself. We wouldn't have these problems. See, there are people in the community that need these skills, and there are people in the community that have these skills. And so I set out on a bit of a journey to connect these two groups of people. I started teaching in a bedroom, despite failing in school, despite dropping out of university twice. Anyone else? Despite not having a formal teaching degree, despite not really having too much, but a bedroom, I invited people into my room to learn. And these were really basic skills, and the project was only set to go for 2 months. What happened was astounding. The project continued because people were so engaged. People were finding these skills empowering. People would come from all around Perth, and this wasn't advertised on Facebook. This was all passed through word of mouth. We understood that we clearly had found something amazing. So some of you may know the story of why Homelove runs out of a car park. Some of you may know the story of why we don't charge for any of the skills that we teach. But I can't talk about Homelove without acknowledging first the people who are the lifeblood of Homelove, the people who run Homelove, people just like you. People like my mate Life. You see, Life comes to Homelove and he gives of his skills and his time. See, Life is a mechanic. And he comes to Homelove and he teaches people how to do their own car maintenance, giving a hand up to people who need it. People like my friend Hania. Hania is a sexologist and she ran one day a healthy sex attitude class. Hania went so much further though as to open her home to us. And now she runs a healthy sex attitude series every single fortnight for free. People like my friend Teresa, who I am so inspired by. If there was ever a strong woman that wasn't my mother, this is her. Teresa comes to Homelove and she teaches people how to respond to misogyny and how to respond to sexual harassment. What is so inspiring about Teresa's story, though, is that Teresa is a survivor of extreme violence. Just let that sit. The Homelove Project is a community based around people like you, empowering through education, through skills, through experiences, teaching people who need it with a hand up. The Homelove welcomes everyone, and it's modelled off of First Home Project, that we welcome everyone into our community, that we acknowledge everyone's basic dignity. The Homelove Project, we run out of car parks so that anyone can come, so it's accessible to everyone. The reason we don't charge for any skills is because we need to make sure that they get to the people who most need them. And if we charge, they wouldn't get there. See, Homelove is based around education because education is empowering. We teach over 25 skills, everything from basic carpentry to misogyny and sexual harassment, everything from non-violent direct action, practical budgeting to gardening, the list goes on. If you want to see where change starts, it starts in a car park. If you want to see what true liberation looks like, it looks like this. I want to leave you with a question and an invitation. My question is, all those who want to be the change that they wish to see, and all those who have a shame they wish no one to see, right now, can you please raise your hands? Perth, you look so beautiful. Sem sentido de identidade, não pode ter grande esforço. Without a sense of identity, there can be no struggle. And it's my prayer that people who have the resources and the willingness to be the change that they wish to see can connect hands with those who have a shame they wish no one to see. And those that carry shame through change and the hand up can have that shame transformed into dignity, that place where they source that shame from turn into a place of strength. See, when I asked you, where can you locate in your body wanting to be the change? Where can you locate this place of shame? For me, it comes from the same place. For me, I wish no one to see this shame. I wish no one to feel it. Education is so empowering. And it just takes a hand up from people like you just to start small.